Hello, Matt Petrowski here. I'm building my own house and I'm doing it in SketchUp, and that's what these videos are about. I'm just walking you through the process of everything that I have learned as I learn the tools and use SketchUp in order to design my own house. If you're an architect or if you're a builder, or if you're anybody who's got knowledge and information in this industry, please share it below, share it in the comments. If you're enjoying the content, give me a subscribe or a thumbs up. You'll be notified as I release new videos. Let's head into the topic and see what I'm talking about today, which is dealing with your layers in the Medeek plugin and keeping things the way that you want them to be. All right, we're here in my model of the house that I'm going to be attempting to build, and we are talking about keeping things on the right layers. As your model gets more and more complex, you are wanting to do things that help you with the process. For example, I'm going to quickly go to a top-down view right now, and I could change my camera to a parallel projection, so everything's flat, sort of like a floor plan. I can see that I've got some toilets right here, and I've got a layer that, where is it? There it is right there. So I've got this layer called plumbing, where I can turn things on and off with regards to the plumbing. And it turns out that when you're building a house or when you're designing your house, the fewer number of plumbing turns that you make, the more cost efficient it is. The plumber doesn't have to do as much work. So when I turn on floor one, actually, I'll turn on, floor one, and I'll turn off the actual flooring right there so that I can see the walls. I can see overlapping here. I can see that my first story powder room right here, the wall is just off of the wall that I have down below. Now, I've got the toilet on the opposing wall right here, but what I'll probably want to do, and something that I learned from my father as I was growing up, and something you pick up in videos and things like that, plumbers and pipes are a little bit bigger than a 2x4 wall. So this 2x4 wall that I have right here, while it's workable, might not be ideal. So I might want to simply shift these walls, which we learned about moving walls in the previous video, or put a 2x6 wall for the length of some of it, at least in the upstairs, and probably for the downstairs. This may be a load-bearing wall. In fact, if you're a civil engineer watching this, I'm going to need all kinds of help when I get to the point where I'm actually having to plan out the structural aspect of this house, the shear walls, etc. Then leave me comments or direct response or whatever. But the point is, it's very important for me to be able to see these layers and be able to turn them on and off, such as being able to turn off the second story, or the first story where the trusses would be. Now, we're going to get to this in a future video where I talk about how important it is that if you're going to use a plugin like the Medeek plugin for your walls, you don't want to right off the bat use the truss and the foundation plugin. Because how you design your walls and how you arrange your whole floor plan is really going to bear out how you're going to have your floors and your floor trusses and your ceiling trusses arranged. So you really want to get the design down first, and we'll talk about the floor and how I did that, and also how you make the whole design look architecturally appealing by adding on extras, but still get to take advantage of the Medeek plugin. But let's talk about the layers right here as I turn off the parallel projection, which is really difficult to look at when you're designing. And we turn off the floor one, and then actually, I don't even need the floor. We'll turn off the entire floor and just deal with the basement right here. So currently, what I have is, we can see that I've got my exterior turned off, and I've got my interior turned on. So one of the tricks is, when I turn on my interior, with the Medeek plugin and any other plugin, we have all of these different layers, but when we're dealing with something that's complex, such as this one wall that I have here in the middle, notice that in the entity info for this particular selection, this particular tag applies to this object as a whole, Whether this object is a group or a component, this is the tag on the outside of the object. When we look at this by simply drilling down into the object and zooming in, and when we double click and we go into our edit mode of this particular group, when I select this, we can see that, as we saw before, one of the important things that we want to turn on before we even start using the Medeek plugin within the settings of the Medeek Wall plugin is we want to turn on all layers. So when we get all of those layers assigned, each object gets its own layer. So then we go to this one. So you can see that I've double-clicked now into the first top plate, and when I select on the face of this top plate, we can see that it itself has its own tag. Now this becomes a problem down the road wherein some of our walls accidentally get tagged when we're working on the wrong tag or the wrong layer. I'm going to use layers because it is a layer in the document. I don't know why they changed that to tags. So how do we fix that situation? Because inevitably you will end up with a situation where you will have walls that when you come in to turn on and off your different settings, wanting to turn them on and off, they actually don't hide, or they hide when you accidentally do something. We have to remember, and I know this as a software designer, that what the Medeek plugin is doing is this stud is nothing more than what I would create if I simply put a rectangle on the ground and push, pull, and dragged it up. The only thing that makes this different in this particular software is the fact that he is grouping it for you and then applying a tag structure for you, and then also giving different things such as stud names. In fact, some of these values, since these are the only values that he as a plugin developer has access to, have to stay the same, meaning he's relying on the fact that if an instance has the word stud in it, then he knows that when you extend this with this particular tool to drag a wall out, he knows that this particular object has to be moved. That's what makes this automatic. As soon as you start to make modifications to default objects by trimming them and so forth, which we'll see in a future video, then you're no longer able to use what I'm going to show you. So here's the trick. If you need to get this onto another layer and somehow accidentally there was some face in here that got assigned to, let's say, the untagged layer, we were working on it and we added a window and moved a window to this. In fact, let's just go ahead and add a window to this. I'll go ahead and click and add the window right there. I am doing everything while I am on the untagged layer, or what was layer 0. And what happens is it's very likely that in some cases this could get tagged with that object. What I've found to be the best solution is to simply select on this and then choose this option of Regen Wall Assembly. Now what that's going to do, I'm presuming, is when you click Regen, his code is walking through all of the elements within this whole object and taking what is currently set. So in order to get this set to another layer, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my pencil or my edit tool to my interior, my basement level 0 interior, and then I'm going to right click and choose that Regen Wall Assembly. And what I've noticed is many times that will actually fix the situation from happening. The only other thing that I've been able to do a couple times is actually just resize the wall, where I'll click this tool and then I'll click the wall. It's a triple click situation. I'll resize the wall and then do that same process again and just move the wall back to where it needs to be. Click once, click the second time, click the starting point, drag it out, and reconnect the wall. That is what I have found out to be the case, such that when you're working with layers, it resets it. And it's this process I just did. Make sure you select the right layer that you want to be editing, click Regen, and then just go ahead, select off of the layer, and then go ahead and determine whether it's actually going to work by turning on and off those walls, which becomes very important when we're working, because obviously I want to be able to, if I need to adjust my basement, work on my basement without seeing all of my other floors and geometry and everything else that gets in the way. Of course, if you want to work like this, looking through all of your layers of floors and working that way, great. Also, one final parting tip is if you have started working with the Medeek plugin and you have not determined how to get to this point, like I said, he puts everything on a layer. And so all I did is I created a folder called walls, and then it has all of the different layers that are assigned there. You can, of course, rename them, but I like the way that he named things, and I just keep them that way. I also have, because I have turned on additional layers after the fact, like this wall, beam, column, and post, you can see that what I can do is I can click once, hold down, I believe it's Shift or Control on Windows, but on Macintosh here it is the Command key, and I can move this into that walls folder. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Just drag that in. Puts all of those into that one tag folder, allows me to collapse it, and now I can get everything all in there. Of course, I need to throw my roof in the roof. These are all things that just get added after the fact. The Medeek plugin, when you turn on the layers, if you didn't have advanced layers on, it will put all of those layers at just the default level of the tags area here, or the layers. You can then drag them into a folder if you're using 2021. But that is the video for today in terms of keeping things on their respective layers and making sure that you're able to work with your model. And in the next video, I think what I'm going to get into is, I don't know, actually. We'll see what I come up with the next model. I have to think about it, and I'll just see you there. All right, see you in the next video.